There she is. Hi.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so
Hi.
good to see you.
I know, a little virtual meeting. It's so
I
good to
know.
see you.
I was
It's been a
trying to think.
while.
I was thinking. I think the last time that we saw each other was a year ago at Derek's birthday.
Yeah, it
The
was.
last that was the last party I went to.
Yeah, me too,
Like
literally.
over a year ago.
I thought it was going to be the end that night. I was like, I could feel it coming.
So crazy. I mean, this year has flown. But how have you been?
I've been amazing, literally amazing. COVID hasn't stopped me. I've been working nonstop, so that's really, really good. Other than that, just trying to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Gonna schedule my vaccine soon,
Nice.
all the
Me
things.
too. Nice. Yep. I know. That's like what we get excited for these days. But yeah, you've been doing so much. I reached out to you because I'm really excited to learn, and I'm excited for I think everyone is really interested to hear the things that you're working about, but also kind of learn more about the cannabis space because it's something I know like very, very little about. I
Surprisingly.
I wanted to start by just introducing you to everyone, and then we'll go from there. But for those of you who are tuning in now and then watching later, Brandin started cooking when she was just 6 years old with her mom and her grandma. And she studied at Le Cordon Bleu, and she decided that she wanted to take up cooking as a profession. But she's not your average classically trained chef, as we're going to find out. She's taken that like professional institutional background and mixed it in with this really hot new culinary trend, cannabis, which we're all going to learn about. And she's also the host of the hip digital show Pot Pie on the Cannabis Network. I didn't even know. See, I didn't even know there was a Cannabis
Yes,
Network.
it's
That's
amazing.
so
Well,
sick.
it's a network and we have an app. So download the app if you're watching. It's Social Club TV. It's amazing.
I mean, that's so cool. I have so many questions for you. And then we're also really excited because you just announced that you're going to be on Chopped.
Yes, I am
So,
one of the first people to compete in the new series or this new franchise of Chopped, which is Chopped 420, Cooking with
so,
Cannabis.
so cool. Okay, so you're clearly busy. We have a lot to
Yeah.
cover here. But I guess let's just start, I guess with the beginning. I mean, how did you get into cooking and decide to make a career out of it?
As you mentioned, I've been cooking since I was about 6 years old. I took my first like official cooking class when I was 8. My mom, my grandma, my aunts, like literally everyone in my family can cook almost as well as any professional chef. So like food just runs really heavily through my blood. I actually found out that one of my like old ancestors, one of my first grandmothers that came to California, the first thing she did was open a restaurant.
No
So
way.
yeah, so I'm like, okay,
Wow.
this is generational. Like this is something that I'm supposed to be doing. So I started cooking with my family. Then I finally decided when I was like 19 to go to culinary school. I happened to live across the street from the Cordon Bleu. So I went in and I was like, hey, what are you guys doing in here? And I think I went in on a Friday and I was signed up by Monday. I ended up excelling really fast in school, so I got hired to be a tutor. So I knew really early on that I was like, okay, this was not a mistake and something that I should really, really put my all into. Um, I did find out really quickly that the culinary world is a lot harder to fully encompass yourself in and like make a lot of money right off the bat. It's something that you really, really have to work a long time to get to, I think, really successful places. So when I was in culinary school, I actually told some of my chefs, I was like, I think I want to open the first cannabis restaurant in California. Like that would be my goal. And of course, my French chefs were like, no way, that's never going to happen. What are you talking about? Like at this time, 10 years ago, 10-year plus, there was only like brownies, Rice Krispie treats. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a real network for cooking with cannabis and utilizing it in like savory dishes. So I think it was really like unheard of. So people definitely looked at me like it wasn't going to happen.
But how did you even find out about it? Did you just think, oh, I can cook with this? Or were you finding these like niche communities and learning these recipes from this like small group of people?
I think so. Okay, well, so another precursor. So my mom has been really heavily involved in the like advocacy side of cannabis. So I was
Hmm.
actually marching for the legalization of pot when I was like 7 or 8 years old with my mom. So I've been taught from a very young age, like about all of the medicinal qualities and what the plant is really about beyond just like smoking it to get a high from it, right?
Yeah. And I want to talk to
So
you about that too.
yes, I think that's the most
Yeah.
interesting thing, and I think that's the part, the biggest like stigma that people need to learn is that like cannabis isn't just something that you like use recreationally to get stoned, right? It is so medicinal, and we actually have inside of our body an endocannabinoid system, and that is one of the major compounds of the cannabis plant, which is cannabinoids. So you're actually ingesting essentially something that is a part of who we are as humans, which is really cool when you think of it that way.
Yeah. Interesting. I didn't know that. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
women produce from our breast milk, we produce cannabinoids.
Really?
So yeah, so
Wow.
it's a really interesting thing. Like when you really start to study it, you're like, oh, okay, wait, there's so much more to it than,
Hmm.
I mean, if you look into the process of hemp, like you can basically take away almost every product, I would say, and replace it by the hemp plant in some
Yeah.
form or another because it can
Yeah.
be made
I
into
am
so many
familiar
different
with
forms.
hemp.
Hmm.
Derek has my boyfriend is working in the hemp industry, so you guys have talked about that. I know
Yeah,
you know Derek.
exactly.
But I mean, I have used CBD products for a few years now because I have scoliosis,
Right,
and I mean, I've always been such an advocate of holistic remedies, and I think it's
right,
to me it's wild that that can be considered illegal or bad. And meanwhile, like prescription painkillers are killing people
I
in this
know.
country in huge amounts. So I think that's a whole other conversation to be had. And that's, I mean, it just shows like we were really approaching it from the wrong perspective in many ways.
Right. And I think
Um,
it's been that way all along. And I think that there are a lot of reasons that it was like that. Like, I think with the legalization of cannabis, it's like, it's one of those things where, like, I can grow a plant in my backyard, you know, so no one can really stop you from doing that. So I think with all of the government and a lot of things, there weren't a lot of ways to regulate it. And
mm,
now, as we're learning, like, more ways to regulate it, it's becoming, you know, more and more legalized and normalized. But there's so many things that we need to be doing as well while we're legalizing cannabis. It's like there's so many people who are incarcerated for this thing
yeah,
that now so many of us are making a living off of. So there's
that's now
so
an essential business.
exactly. So you look at those things and you're like, okay, well,
Yeah.
wait. So it's really important for everyone who gets involved in the cannabis space, I think, to be very aware of that and like how can you give back and make sure that what you're doing like fully encompasses the entirety of what cannabis has gone through throughout all of history.
Wow, that's a really interesting point. I was trying, so I always go for the political. I think
I know,
that's
I know.
always what
I
I'm
me
so
too.
interested in. And I was like, I'm gonna have a really fun and interesting conversation to talk about
Well,
all the
it
benefits of cannabis. But you're right. I mean, you cannot separate it from the socio and political context from which
right.
we even recognize it. But 10 years ago, I mean, this was obviously not a big conversation or popular or even legal, like you said. So, I
Right.
mean, how did you think of even going about it?
Well, so I did a lot of dinners on the low.
Okay,
Everything I
cool.
was doing was all kind of underground and like you said, networking with other chefs that, you know, found that I'd find throughout the space, working with different brands and different people who were already sort of involved in it. And then, you know, you watch all of the evolution sort of happen. Like there was a period where I sort of was like, okay, maybe this isn't the avenue I should go in because all of the things that I want to do with my career, maybe this cannabis thing is going to be like a hindrance and hold me back because people look at it as such a negative thing. And so for a while, I had to really like sort of figure it out and compartmentalize like what
Right.
does it all mean to me and how can I make it all work And essentially, like, I just kept doing what I was doing, and the rest of the world has now sort of caught up. So it's like, okay, cool.
Right.
It's that tell old story of like, follow your dreams, don't stop. Like, because no matter what you are thinking, like, you're probably worlds ahead of maybe the entirety of the universe, and get ahead of the game and use that as your advantage.
Yeah, that's become kind of a common theme. I've spoken this month with, some amazing women, all from different
Yeah.
sectors of industry, and they've all kind of said the same thing in different words, which is just if you have an idea or if you love
Hmm.
something, you just have to go for it and just like start. What's the first step in starting a business? Just
Right.
literally starting.
Yeah, and you're
And
going to get so many no's before you start to hear yes. And so getting used to that word no and understanding that that doesn't mean stop. It just means like not right now, or maybe I don't really get it. Maybe
but someone
somebody else
will.
in business will get it. Take your
Yeah.
idea to other avenues, because literally it will work if you work it.
Yeah, it's really encouraging to see that is kind of a consistent thread no matter what it is that you're trying to do in life. Everyone who's been successful will tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, that's something I think that everyone can kind of take away no matter what. um I I was curious because I look at culinary school and just I guess cooking in general and that as an art,
Yeah.
which very much is. And I think of culinary school and I compare it to theater school, which I'm more familiar with. But any type of creative or arts schooling, like institutional education, is vastly different from other people who have been incredibly successful also but have no
Yeah.
formal training. Like you can kind of go at it from both directions, and I'm curious for you what your experience was, because you've been in the traditional like formal education setting, and you've also now been in the kind of avant-garde and
Right.
the Wild West. And I guess how do you compare those two experiences?
There's the completely different worlds. I would say, like, coming from the traditionally French trained culinary background, it's very, very formal. Everything is all about like perfection. And it's almost, in my opinion, like, I feel like food is love, and the energy that you put into the things that you're cooking is the energy that you're then giving to your clients and customers and stuff. So, that world is so, in my opinion, like rigid, and just
Hmm.
like not for, like, not, it wasn't for me essentially, because then when I tried to work in a kitchen, I was like, this is not what I want to do. But Le Cordon Bleu definitely would have prepared me for that career perfectly.
Uh-huh.
And then I've come into this world where it's like you kind of get to make your own rules. Everything you do, you're almost a pioneer, so you get to just do whatever you want
Yeah, that's
essentially.
cool.
And
It
it's
is
a
the Wild West.
it totally, I mean, it literally is, especially out here in the West Coast.
Yeah, yeah.
It's it's a lot better. I mean, I like to beat to my own drum and do my own thing. So being able to sort of like mix this culinary passion with my cannabis passion, with my performing passion, being an on camera chef, I'm like, this is what I was supposed to be doing for sure.
Yeah, that's I I want to hear all about this on camera stuff, but before we go to that, I'm trying to think in my mind, like, how do I organize this in some cohesive way?
I
Because I have so many things I want to talk about. But tell us a little bit about those health benefits that we talked about, just to start, and also like how, I guess I want to know the health benefits first. And then I want to learn a little bit about the process, because I don't even know, like when I think of cannabis, I think of like a plant. So I mean,
right.
just walk
You're
us
like, how does
through.
it get in the food?
Yeah, I mean, how are you cooking with it? Yeah, so take
um,
either of those first.
well, so okay, so that there's so many amazing, amazing properties of the cannabis plant. As far as medicinal, I I mean, like as you mentioned, you have scoliosis, so I'm sure you use topicals for
Hmm.
anti-inflammatory. So there's anti-inflammatory properties. I use it for when I have cramps. It's been known to help with arthritis. That's also a form of probably the anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
ADHD, PTSD, um, depression, anxiety, you name it. I think that there is a type of cannabis essentially for any ailment or thing that you may need. So whatever form of pain you may be like experiencing, whether it be physical, mental,
Mhm.
emotional, like the cannabis plant has a benefit for you.
Yeah, and also so people understand, you can extract certain properties from it. So like I take CBD because I don't want to get high. So I
Right.
just take that topical part of how can you explain how
Well,
you like
so
remove
the
the
difference
CBD and the
between
THC? Like can you explain that?
yeah, so the major difference between CBD versus THC is that THC has the properties that are going to be psychoactive, so they're actually going to get you high. CBD is all medicinal, so there's probably less than 0.3% THC in any product that you're going to find on the market that's marketed as a CBD product. Um, so the major difference there is that, and then like, so with cannabis, it's THCA until you actually ignite it. And then the chemical compound changes from THCA to THC, which is what gets you high. So like the
Ah,
raw cannabis plant itself isn't going to do anything. So like when we're cooking with cannabis, you have to make sure you decarboxylate your
what
flour,
is that?
which is bringing your flour up to temperature. So like if you're going to bake it in the oven, you want to bake it at like 240 for like an hour, and you bring it up to activate all of the THC. And then at that point, you can put it into any of
Ah,
your oils, and then you're going to get the actual psychoactive effect inside of the oil or
I
fat that you chose.
Interesting. So how do you actually cook with it? Are you so you make it into an oil and then you cook like olive
Yeah,
oil?
so you can do olive oil, you can make it into butter, you can make it into like sugar, flour.
Oh, so
I've
anything.
made, I mean, yeah, you can literally infuse, I make it in milk so then I can use it in my recipes. It's really, really versatile. And there's so many other like tinctures and different things that you can now use as well that are already activated. So you can just add something to like your smoothie and then it becomes an infused dish. So it's a lot easier
Oh,
nowadays than like back in the day when you're like struggling. And there's really cool machines as well out there, like the Levo machine that like walks you through basically being able to make all of your own infusions at home. It's literally like
oh,
a
cool.
Betty Crocker machine, essentially. You just like drop all your oils in your compartments and then you just set it and leave it. So,
Oh, wow. So it's almost now it's kind of accessible to the public. You don't really have
yes.
to have training to
No,
anyone can kind of
absolutely not. And
cook
I
it.
think that's like the biggest thing is that cooking with cannabis is just another ingredient, another herb, essentially, that you would be adding to your dish. It's definitely important to learn a lot about it, the all of the different properties, what it can do, the different types of weed, your strains, so that you're familiar with the plant. But essentially, like what we're trying to do is destigmatize and normalize. So getting people to be so comfortable with it that it's in your pantry and it's something that everyone's using and it's not looked at as something sort of so out of the box. And
Yeah.
you can cook with CBD as well as THC, so you can make products that are just for health benefits and that aren't going to get you high.
So it's like when I add a protein powder or a vitamin powder to my
Yeah,
smoothie. It's just enhancing whatever it is that you're eating.
right, exactly.
Um, and what are some of your favorite dishes to make?
Oh my God. So as I mentioned, so I like infusing my like milks and stuff because that's really awesome to do baked goods.
Oh,
So
and how do you do that? Because I saw Haley's on here. She was asking, how do you actually make the milk?
so you just take a normal milk, and so as I mentioned, you go through your decarb process. You want to activate the THC, and then basically you would just set your milk in with your activated THC and keep it on a really, 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 really low simmer for a while and like keep stirring it. And then you just strain out the weed and you're going to end up with like a little bit of like light green sort of milk, but then you have infused milk.
Cool. It'd
Yeah.
be great for St. Patrick's Day.
I know. Or
Green
like,
milk.
I was thinking about making something. I was like, these are high thoughts, but I was eating Trix cereal and I was like, oh, I should infuse like Trix milk and then infuse it with weed as well and then make like a Trix cake out of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like Milk Bar does cereal
Yeah,
milk. Oh, that's
exactly.
so cool. That would be so good. Okay, tell me some other what are your favorite
So
dishes
you
or
can
things
literally
that
make
you want to make?
You can make anything. Like I love to make bolognese, so like one of my favorite dishes is
Oh.
bolognese. Like Chateau Marmont, my favorite.
Hmm.
I had to
Famous
like
for their
I
bolognese.
had to lock down those flavor profiles, and I got it pretty darn close, I would say. So I like to make an infused version of that now, which is like my jam.
Do you
I
infuse the
the
bolognese,
pasta, yeah, the
the
bolognese.
sauce?
So I'll do an infused cream for that. So a heavy
Mm,
cream, and then I'll use that in the bolognese.
yum,
Yeah, so you
yum.
can, I mean, you can make anything, literally.
Yeah.
Put I put CBD oil in my eggs in the morning, like, when for my olive oil. It's
Mm.
basically encompassed in every dish I make now.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really
You can even like use it as a garnish. Like I like to grind some up on the top instead of like and mix it with like my Parmesan, like or make an herb crust out of it. It's super versatile.
And I guess you are obviously familiar with the like the quantities and how to properly measure it out, but it
Yeah.
probably takes a little bit of trial and error for the average person if they want to infuse their food.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's all math, honestly. That's the part. It's like it's all a
So I'd be
calculator, and
terrible at it.
and there's so many things online. Like if you search like how do I do my
Yeah.
dosage, there it'll tell you it's like your amount of your fat versus your grams, the percentage of your THC, and then it's just a couple of divisions, and then you get your amount per serving. So it's easier than you'd think.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Just makes cooking that's already hard for me just a little bit harder. But
Just throw in some extra math. It's all
yeah,
good.
exactly. Great. That's just what I needed. Um, so I think it's so cool that you are not only doing, catering like you've always done and cooking, but you've actually built a brand around this. And when I first met you, you were modeling and you've always worked in front of the camera and you found this amazing way to kind of meld these two passions of yours.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about how that got started.
Actually, kind of by chance, I had a really good friend contact me. They had lost the chef of Pot Pie, which is the cooking show that I have. And he was like, you know what, why don't you come in and meet the team and see if it works out? And 2 seasons later, it worked out really well. And now it's sort of opened all of these other avenues. I've signed with a great management company, and they really help facilitate so many amazing things like Chopped 420.
Yeah,
Um,
that's so exciting. So Chopped is, you guys have all probably heard about it. I mean, it's like that big, huge chef's show. It's one of the famous cooking
like
shows.
my favorite too.
Yeah. So, and now they're doing a whole season on cannabis, which I think just shows how mainstream it's become, which is wild. And I'm so excited for you.
I'm
Um,
so excited
but
too. I'm just
what's
excited
that
for
going to be about?
the normal world to sort of see what cooking with cannabis is all about.
Yeah.
Um, I know my episode's crazy. I'm crazy. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a
So you've
fun.
already shot it?
Yeah, we already shot it. It's gonna air on 420. This year's actually the 50th anniversary of 420, which is super
Oh,
exciting. So because of that, there's a lot going on in the industry. So it's gonna air on 420 on Discovery Plus, and there's a 7-day free trial, so don't be cheap.
yeah.
Sign up.
Yeah. Sign up 7 days before I
Seven
get the
days, just
ultimatum.
yeah, like or the day
April
of, and
13th. Um, so the 50th anniversary, do you know why it started
so
or how?
so actually I'm pretty sure the number 420 used to be what police would call in for cannabis.
Ah,
And so it sort of like flipped, and they're like, okay, well now we're going to take this and use it as our our holiday
see, I knew that there
instead.
was going to be an interesting historical note there somewhere. That's really cool. I love that.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So it's the 50th anniversary. Chopped 420 is going to be amazing. There's 5 episodes. They're all dropping on 420. It's just going to be a really cool look into different products in the cannabis space, how to make your oils. It adds just a totally way more, in my opinion, like exciting addition to the Chop Show, which is already insane.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I've seen it. It's great. Really good.
So it's going
I'm
to be
excited
good.
for that.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
What other projects are you working on that you want to share?
So I'm gonna launch on 420 as well because of the special holiday. I'm launching a CBD e-commerce site. So
Ooh,
it'll be a site where you can get all of the top CBD brands that are all going to be lab tested, totally safe, 100% legal. We're going to be delivering to 47 states that accept
Amazing.
CBD deliveries, which is amazing. And we'll have like recipes, workout videos. So it's going to be more than just an e-com site. It's sort of like a one-stop shop for everything that you'd need to know about CBD. And then I'm also
Fantastic.
dropping my own CBD seasoning line called Pretty Spicy Seasonings and
Yes.
Marinades. So
Say
I'm
the name
super,
again.
it's called Pretty Spicy Seasonings and Marinades.
Ooh.
And I'm super excited. I've been literally dreaming this up for a really long time. So it's amazing to see it come to fruition. And it's like it couldn't be a better time to just launch it all at once. Um,
Wow.
so
Well, I mean, that's
this 420 is going to be a big one. We're excited.
I'm so, so happy for you. This is all
Thank
so
you so
exciting.
much.
I cannot wait to try the CBD seasonings
I
line.
know, I'm going to send you some.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm so excited. I'm sure it'll be
I'll,
so cute packaged, like all the
yeah,
packaging and just everything.
I'm
I
literally
love
so
CBD.
excited.
Yeah.
I
I'm a
know
huge,
it's literally my favorite thing ever. I use it for everything. Like anytime I'm feeling any sort of ailment, headache, backache, I'm like, where's the
mhm.
CBD? It's the only thing that ever knocks out my like
Yeah.
soreness.
Same, same. I mean, I've gone through so many I guess horrible experiences, and it's been
Oh,
such a struggle to just like feel okay. And I would rather take CBD any day of the week than be taking any sort of like painkillers or
I know.
even just Tylenol, like any pill. I mean, why would you ever take that when you don't have to, when there's a natural way and it's actually better?
I know.
It
Well,
works
sooner or
better for
later,
me.
people will know. People will get
Yeah.
it.
So I'm really
But
I'm excited to talk about this and to share the information, because I mean, not only me, but I know so many people. I know cancer survivors and
yep,
people with all different types of ailments who've all benefited so much from this. And I really am grateful for the work that you're doing and so many other people in your space to destigmatize it and to take
I
away
know.
this bad
It's
connotation.
exciting.
It's just stupid.
It's so
Yeah.
stupid. And this, hopefully over the next couple of years, there's a lot of people making great strides to, help free a lot of people who are incarcerated, to
Yeah.
get this plant federally legal to where we can all like work and move and do what we want to do a little bit freer. And I think that will help people feel a little bit more comfortable about having it like in their household and,
Yeah.
understanding that it is just another great ingredient in plant.
Yeah, it's another great ingredient like your CBD seasoning or even a whole meal. I mean, I think of it like a wine pairing.
Exactly.
We have wine pairings with dinner all the time, and no one thinks twice about it.
I know,
Um,
exactly. And it's so crazy because it's like this the same terpenes that are found in wine are found in cannabis. So when you really get into like understanding a lot about cannabis, it's so freaking interesting and there's so many parts of it that are so similar to the things that we're regularly using in our lives.
yeah, and there's no hangovers. So,
I unless you
so
eat a lot of edibles.
okay.
So
Well, unfortunately, I've
microdose
never been there,
everyone.
and hopefully never will. But I have drank way too much wine, and that is not fun.
No, not for
So
anyone.
I want to check before we go. I want to go through and see if there are any questions that I didn't cover, because we covered a lot in a short span of time, I feel. Is there anything? Wait, let me just go through actually and check. Oh wait, Ricardo's asking pretty spicy. What's the name exactly? Will you say again for everyone?
Yes, it is going to be called it's Pretty Spicy Seasonings and Marinades. And it's dropping on 420, so in just a couple weeks.
And where will people be able to find it? Should they just follow you on Instagram?
Yeah, just make sure you follow me on Instagram, turn your notifications on because there's a lot of amazing stuff happening this month.
Yeah, that's very. It's what, 3 weeks away,
Yeah,
right? I didn't even make the connection that it's coming up, but yeah, that's
I
really
know
exciting.
it's
Um,
very soon.
does your body only get high, or is it also a head high, or is there a difference?
Well, so as I was mentioning, if you're using THC, you are going to get a head high, and depending on the strain, you will get like a nice mellow body high. So if you are trying to smoke cannabis for some sort of pain or ailment, you want to smoke an indica because it's going to be a little bit more body high. And I know a lot of people, they try smoking or consuming and they eat something and it's like it's a little bit too much. I find that sativa is really psychoactive, so you get a little bit in your head, right? So I think more people want to stay towards like the hybrid, indica dominant so that you're more just chill and you're not all caught up in your head, like freaking out, and then you don't want to ever smoke again in your life.
Yeah. And then are there different ones? Can you choose like, oh, I want help going to sleep, or I want energy or pain, or like,
Yeah,
can you kind of be more
definitely.
specific?
So there's three different strains, main strains of cannabis. You have your indica, which is going to be a lot more body high, a
Mm-hmm.
lot more pain focused, relaxant, really good for your anxiety, calm down, sleep,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. Sativa is going to be a lot more geared for you to be up if you want to run, work out, write, create, do all of that, smoke sativa. If you want somewhere sort of in the middle, you're going to smoke a hybrid, which is like
Got
my
it. Right.
favorite. I go for like indica dominant hybrid so that I'm getting a little bit of that creative flow, but
Mm-hmm.
also like a really nice euphoric, mellow come down.
Got it. And so then when you're cooking, you kind of create your own measurements and balance it
Yeah,
out.
and you definitely like, so when I cook and when I do a meal, I like to sort of go up and down. So I might start out with like 6 milligrams of THC in my appetizer and then go to 20 milligrams of CBD in my entree, so that then it kind of like counteracts that THC that I had in the first bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then like end on a really high note and kick it back up with some more THC at the end with your dessert.
Wow. You're like conducting an orchestra.
Yeah, that's what we
Well,
try to do, you know?
yeah. Wow. Well, I cannot wait till we're both vaccinated and we can get together in person and you
Yes.
can cook and I can try all. I've never had a cannabis meal. So
Oh yeah, I'll have to
I'm
I'll have to cook for you.
I'm
It'll be
so
amazing.
excited. I'm so happy for you. This is amazing. I'm going to share this after and with all of, the links so that people can follow and stay up to date and check out your seasonings
Awesome.
line and the show. Like, I'm your biggest supporter. I cannot
I
wait
love
for
you.
everything. I'm
You're my
so happy.
girl.
Thank
I'm
you
so
so
happy
much
for
for
you. Just thank you for doing this and highlighting women and, showing what we're all about and that we're a lot more than, it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, I've talked to like my friends and new friends, some of the coolest people, and just to show like we're doing so many different things, and it's just been really fun to learn about the more like details of what we're doing,
Yeah,
because we always know
exactly.
we have like a bird's eye view of what our friends are doing, but to actually learn about their process has been really fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. You rock.
Oh, well, I miss you. Take
Love
care.
you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thanks
Love
for having
you.
me.
Of
Bye,
course.
everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.